Welcome to In the Loop with Lupus in Color, where we strive to educate, inspire, encourage, and empower lupus warriors all around the world. We are talking about practical ways to cope with lupus. And I wanted to present to you this guide so that you can have some type of coping mechanisms that you might not have thought of to use as you deal with lupus. So let's go over this guide. So, living with lupus means facing the uncertainty of flares. And with those uncertainties, you have to find effective coping skills that empower you not to only manage your flares, but also reduce their intensities. So, these are some ways that you can actually have some type of uh, coping mechanisms that can help you stop the intensity of the flare and even help you prevent some flares. Number one, heed your flare warning signs. Look, our body talks to us and it talks to us constantly. So we have to heed the flare warning signs when they whisper so that they are not screaming at us and providing us with intense pain and issues. So, coping with lupus involves an awareness of one's symptoms to minimize the frequency and severity of lupus flares. This proactive approach empowers you to take timely measures such as adjusting medications, managing stress, or adopting healthy activities in your day. This will mitigate the impact of lupus on your daily life. By actively monitoring and addressing your lupus symptoms, you can significantly enhance your quality of life and minimize the disruptions caused by lupus. Please realize I'm saying you are not going to cure lupus by heeding your lupus flares. You are going to minimize the disruptions caused by lupus. And as we deal with lupus, since there is no cure right now, that's our goal, to minimize any disruptions and to minimize the intensity of all of our lupus flares. So, number one, heed your flare warning signs. Number two, make adjustments as needed. While navigating your lupus journey, there's a possibility of continuing work or attending school. However, certain modifications and adjustments may be necessary to support you on this path. And those modifications may be you going into work later, working less hours, working less days, or even adjustments in the workplace that your employer would have to create for you to help you be successful at your job. It's crucial to prioritize your health and make the necessary changes that suit your well being. Remember to tailor your decisions to what is right for maintaining your health and overall wellness. And you know what? Lupus is so unpredictable. It's important for us to really make adjustments as needed. Sometimes that adjustment also comes with stop working on a full time basis. For some of us, like myself, it also comes with stop working altogether, and you have to make some lifetime adjustments for that. But the whole purpose of making the adjustments is to really do what's right for you for maintaining your health and overall wellness. So, like this quote says at the bottom, life at any time can become difficult, life at any time can become easy. It all depends upon how one adjusts oneself to life. So sometimes we're constantly reacting to lupus, when in turn we really need to be responding to lupus and allowing ourselves to make the proper adjustments that are right for our limitations and for our bodies. Number three, these are three major things that we have to do. Manage your stress. Stress whispers to your pain and ignites your lupus flares, but you have the power to silence it. Embrace tools like deep breathing, gentle movement, nourishing food, and restful sleep. Prioritize yourself and watch your strength bloom, even in the face of challenges. Let me say that again. Prioritize yourself. In order to manage your stress, you have to set boundaries. You have to set those boundaries for yourself and for others around you. And like this quote says, you must learn to let go, release the stress. You were never in control anyway. And a way of managing your stress is realizing that you can only control what you can control. The uncontrollables, we can get upset and let it bother us, or we can just control what we can and let the rest go. So managing your stress is very, very important in coping with lupus. There are some additional actions that you can take to cope with lupus. And I'm going to list some of them here. So, tracking your symptoms, keeping a diary of your symptoms can help you identify triggers and patterns. And you can track your symptoms online with different apps like the View Health app, or you can do it on paper with a journal. However, you can track the symptoms. Track those symptoms so that when you get to your doctor, you can say, this is what happened when I did this. And you can see where the problems start and where it ended. So make sure that you're tracking your symptoms. These are just simple coping skills that you can use to help you on your lupus journey. Avoid sun exposure. Sun exposure can trigger your flares. So use sunscreen with an SPF of 30 or higher, and wear protective clothing with it when you're outside. And go outside in the morning. Get some morning sun because it's not at its peak, and avoid going out in the late afternoon towards the evening hours where the sun is at its peak. Don't smoke. Smoking can worsen lupus symptoms and increase your risk of complications. So try to not smoke. If you have some issues with smoking, try and minimize and really try to cut back so that you can get to the point where you're not smoking anymore. I guarantee you that your flares will be a little less. Limit your alcohol, and I'll add to that one also, limit your caffeine. Alcohol and caffeine can trigger lupus flares and interact with some of your medications. So although it's great to have a drink here and there, if you want to drink a cup of coffee a day or whatever have you, or you want to have a glass of wine with dinner, just make sure that you're monitoring yourself and making sure that your medications are not interacting with those things. Eat nutritious meals. Look, we know food can be your medicine or your poison. So you have to make sure that you are eating the foods that are good for your body. Now, what might be good for me may not be good for you. So make sure that you are checking, and holding a food journal so that you know how different foods affect your body and how they create flares or stop the flares from coming on. Get regular checkups. See your doctor regularly for monitoring and checkups, and take your medications as prescribed. These are so important because you cannot manage your lupus on your own. You have to make sure that you have someone that has some inclination of what's going on in your body and can tell you how to mitigate through those tough times of pain and issues that come with lupus. So don't try and manage lupus on your own. Go on and get you a doctor and make sure that you're following doctor's orders. And if you don't understand, ask your doctor. That's something else that we'll talk about in another live. Communicate with your loved ones. Talk to your family and friends about your lupus and how it affects you. Ask for help when you need it. Let me say that one again. Ask for help when you need it. And don't be afraid to delegate tasks. You have to be open to being a little vulnerable with your family and your friends because you might need them. And asking for help is not weak, it's actually very strong because you know that you are at your limit and you need assistance. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And don't be afraid to delegate to those tasks. Everything doesn't have to be done today, and it doesn't have to be done our way. We can delegate tasks. So, coping with lupus, learning to live in a constant state of fatigue and chronic pain is difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for all of us. And it's likely to take a really big toll on our mind and our body and our spirit when we think about it. This can make us feel frustrated and hopeless at times. So, to help you deal with lupus, you have to do things that will help you fend off, lessen the severity, or remove flares altogether. It takes some time to figure out what works, but it's important to find those things to live well beyond lupus. So here are some daily coping skills. You might see a new skill that you haven't tried and you might want to try it. And these are not things that you have to do, but these are things that might help you, that have helped me and helped others as they cope with lupus. So some daily skills might be meditation, exercise, writing in a journal, things like that. I have to tell you, I'm a former athlete, so exercise is my number one go-to. If I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling extra tired, if my body is a little achy, I use exercise to create endorphins in my body to make me feel better. So it really works for me. It might work for you. Try it out. You can listen to some music, take a bath. These are just different ways that you might be able to help yourself as you deal with lupus. Cooking a meal, nothing big, something small. Doing yoga, getting enough sleep is very important. And not just sleep, but resting our mind, our body, our souls. You squeeze in a stress ball. These are just little ways that I'm trying to give you to try to help you cope with lupus. To cry, smile, take a walk, doodle on some paper, color. I'm going to tell you, coloring, you know how your parents used to say, get you a coloring book. It's really a calming activity. It makes you be in the present moment and keeps you mindful. So these are just a listing of some things that you can do daily to cope with lupus. So here are some gentle reminders. Remember, everyone with lupus is different. So what works for one person may not work for another. It's important to find what works best for you and to make adjustments as needed. With the right approach, you can live a full and active life with lupus. So here are some reminders for you. Be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your body. There is no cure for lupus, so it's important to be patient with yourself and your body. Stay positive. Look, you don't have to stay positive all the time. You have to release those negative feelings. Absolutely. But having a positive attitude can help you cope with the challenges of lupus. And that's not to say that you have to have toxic positivity, but it is to say that if you look on the brighter side of things, it's going to help you get past those negative and difficult times. Advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up for your needs. You are important. You're an important person, and that is a way of coping with lupus. You have to be able to ask for help. You have to be open to receive the help, and you have to advocate for your needs, whether it be with your doctor or your family. And finally, celebrate your successes. No matter how small, celebrate successes along the way. Look, you have made it 100% of the time past the things that you thought would kill you. So celebrate those successes and allow yourself to know that you are an overcomer and you are doing the best that you can with the things that you're doing. What's important with coping with lupus is really to allow yourself to be open to different ways to cope with lupus. You don't have to do everything that was on the list, but try different things that help you get past difficult issues with lupus. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything that I spoke about today is a cure. It's not a cure. The reality of the fact is, it is a coping skill that can help you respond better to lupus, and that's what we want. What we want. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that something in this practical guide can help you, and I hope that you'll share it with someone else that might be dealing with lupus or another chronic illness so that they can also find ways to cope with what they're going through. Thank you for always tuning in. You all have a great day. Bye-bye.